glands removed with it, she can live just fine taking the thyroid hormone by pill form. And I'm guessing she lived for a little while.
She's still alive. This happened in the 80s.
Cool, then they didn't take her parathyroids.
Okay. Because she has a big slit right here.
Yep. Mostly what they do now, okay, mainly because of the problems that were noted with the parathyroid glands, okay, a lot of what they do now is they irradiate the thyroid and kill it that way. You take a pill that goes and just kills the thyroid. You don't have to have it surgically removed, and you just take a hormone pill.
That makes me nervous. I wouldn't want to take a pill that, you know, solely is only going to address that one area and
Think
not
about
affect
this.
anything else.
Think about this. This is the only place of the body that can uptake iodine. So if they're going to create a radioactive substance that will kill the tissue, they can create a radioactive iodine that will go strictly to those tissues and kill it. You don't have to worry about it going to any other tissues of the body.
So it won't kill the parathyroid?
No.
Just the thyroid?
Just the thyroid. So when we think about making the thyroid hormones, life, okay, synthesis of, okay, making of. So making of these hormones, we need iodine. Iodine needs to be present. When we have the TSH from the anterior pituitary, the one that is going to go to the thyroid gland and stimulate it to make the T3, T4, okay, to make its hormones. When that reaches the thyroid glands, it's going to increase that synthesis, that making of the T3 and the T4. Now, this gland, when it makes its product, the T3 and the T4, it will store it also, okay? So the thyroid gland in these follicle cells can not only make the T3 and the T4, it can store it also. So in order to produce the T3 and the T4, we have to have iodine. Iodine, we only need it in small amounts. Exposure to it in other ways, like you can have iodine that you might put on the cut of a skin or something like that. But iodine, if you get exposed to it in a form that you're going to have it in the air, it can kill you. Okay? But the iodine that we put into the foods of our diet that we have now, for the most part, okay? Because now you go to the store to buy salt, which is what we usually iodize, okay? And now, what are we doing about our salts?
Using this.
Don't use that one.
I know.
Well, let me see here. All right, here we go. I'm at the store. And here's my shelf. The shelving, I should say, for my salt. Okay? Now, when I was growing up, it was very simple. We had the blue canister with the little pop-up metal top with the little girl and the umbrella. Okay? I had Morton salt growing up. That's the only salt I knew. Okay? I didn't find out about other salts, you know, till probably in my 30s. But anyway, you know, so now I'm at the store and I'm doing this number. Okay, let me see. Mediterranean sea salt, Dead Sea salt, salt, salt rocks. And I'm like, my kosher salt. I love my kosher salt. Okay? None of it has iodine. It will have on the label right there, not a significant source. Well, not a source of iodine. So, what do you do? Where do we get that iodine from? Everything else we eat. Because if you buy something canned, if you buy something frozen, what's it got? Sodium. Contents through the roof. Okay? But what if you don't eat a whole lot of that? Okay? Maybe meat production or the packaging of the meat. I don't know. Okay? But what do you say? What if I want to try to buy a better class of meat? I can't afford that, y'all, so I'm just letting y'all know up front. Okay? But you see where I'm going with this? Our source of iodine is not as great anymore. Goiters are beginning to show back up.
What are goiters?
Goiters are where if you don't have iodine, that thyroid is getting this message from the TSH of the anterior pituitary, which is saying produce your product. But without the iodine, it's just getting produced and not released. And so that's why the goiter makes the thyroid gland get bigger and bigger and bigger. Your book has a very good picture of it. It's huge. Yeah. And it's due to not having the proper amount in the diet. As long as we have iodine, we can get the message from the thyroid gland. We can have the iodine play its role in producing the T3 and the T4. We can release the T3 and the T4 into the bloodstream. It can make it to the tissues and be utilized. Whatever T4 goes to, however, any of those cells, okay, they're going to need to convert the T4 into the T3, which is the more potent form. The thyroid gland, like I mentioned yesterday, the thyroid gland self-regulates. It is a negative feedback system that is controlling it. For the most part, the thyroid gland is on call 24/7, 365, 366 if it's a leap year. Okay? So it's working all the time for the most part, unless something goes wrong. So what will happen is it's going to be monitoring the blood levels. We'll get information to the hypothalamus, okay? If we need the product, we're going to get TSH released from the anterior pituitary. That TSH will go to affect the thyroid gland itself. We'll get the production of those hormones. The hormone levels will begin to get monitored and increased. If they begin to increase, we'll send signals to stop the TSH. Levels go back down. TSH gets secreted. We start producing it. Levels go back up. Stop producing it. See the cycle? It's negative feedback that's going to control the production of this hormone. The hypo and the hyperthyroidism is very prominent. These hormones have a lot of clinical significance. People who suffer from either the hypo or the hyperthyroidism tend to have very stereotypical reactions. We're going to see that these reactions that can occur pretty much are the same thing for anybody who's suffering from either one, the hyper or the hypo. We need the levels to be normal because of how it affects so many other things. It's going to affect the heat production of the body. It's going to affect the, believe it or not, sodium-potassium pumps. how they're going to function at a cellular level. It's going to affect mitochondria. It affects the bone. It affects the muscle. If you don't have those normal levels, every tissue of your body is getting affected. So this is a pretty important gland in the endocrine system. The other hormone that we get in the thyroid gland was the calcitonin. Do you guys remember that one and how that's going to affect the calcium? And that's going to be directly related to the bone tissue of the body, okay? The osseous tissue. So don't forget the calcitonin in that thyroid gland also. Located on the back, and for some reason reminds me of a pit viper's mouth, okay? Have y'all ever seen the inside of a pit viper's mouth? Okay, for some reason, these parathyroid glands, which are just on the posterior side of that thyroid gland, and we have 4 of them for the most part, okay? The parathyroid glands, they're actually they're embedded into the thyroid gland. Now, their cells very densely packed for those cells. If you don't have functional parathyroid glands, you cannot regulate calcium in the body, and you will die, point blank. When they began to take out thyroid glands, they didn't fully know the function of the parathyroids, and so a lot of times the parathyroids would be removed. That's still the case today. There can be situations where the thyroid gland is removed and they take out those parathyroid glands also, and they don't realize it, and the person dies, because death is relatively quick without these parathyroid glands. The parathyroid glands, they secrete, ta-da, parathyroid hormone. That one's hard to remember, isn't it?
The parathyroid, they have nothing to do with iodine, so when you take that pill to kill your thyroid, it doesn't affect the parathyroid.
Yeah. Only thing it does is the thyroid tissue. The target tissue for this hormone, it affects bone, the kidneys, the intestines. The overall effect for the parathyroid hormone, the overall effect, decrease phosphate levels in the blood. How is...
Wait, you said decrease phosphate levels?
Yes.
It says increase up there.
All right, let me think.